Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. We are delighted to have you on the call in this webinar. Thank you so much for joining. We will just give it a few minutes to allow more people to join and we can take off. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Now, to start off, I just want to call your attention to something very important. Think about everything you've eaten so far today, if you have, I mean, the breakfast, the snack, the cup of tea, every one of those passed the tests you may have noticed or not. But most days it passes the tests, but not always. Right now, around the world, unsafe food has caused over 866 million illnesses and has resulted in about 1.5 million deaths worldwide. This is from WHO. And here in Africa, unfortunately, Africa carries the heaviest burden of unsafe food everywhere in the world, with 91 million people falling ill every year and 137,000 people dying every year from unsafe food. Like I said, today's webinar spotlights a critical public health issue, food safety, a matter that affects every one of us and ties directly into the broader goal of safeguarding public health and ensuring sustainable food systems. Our aim today is to explore innovation and policy pathways that can drive practical solutions to food safety challenges. And we are privileged. It's exciting to tell you that we are joined here by a panel of distinguished experts who will bring with them deep field experience and strategic perspectives on how to advance safer food practices.
Consumer Advocacy and Empowerment Foundation is live as one of the busiest markets in Lagos, Nigeria, the 𝗦𝗳𝗲 foodstuff market. This market basically feeds thousands of people, from men to women, children, even workers. And basically everyone who comes to shop here or buy here trusts that what they buy is actually safe. Well, sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not.
Mo sọ lákọ̀ọ́kọ́ pé tí wọ́n bá fi oògùn sí ọ̀làlájà àti oògùn nǹkan kò ní jẹ́ torí wọ́n ní kòkòrò tí jẹ́ ẹ̀fọ́ ẹ̀fọ́ lọ́wọ́ kò ní kòkòrò tí ní jẹ́ ẹ̀fọ́ torí pé kí ni oko ni wọ́n gbèsè àwọn tó má gbèsè pé kòkòrò jẹ́ torí ní àgbíkì òun ni àwọn tó ń gbá láti Ọ̀ṣun ìlú ilé ní Ọ̀ṣun state wọ́n ti gbé wá kì í ṣẹ̀fọ́ kì í ṣe ẹ̀fọ́ èkó rárá àwọn ẹ̀fọ́ èkó yìí wọ́n máa fresh kòkòrò ní jẹ́ torí pé kí wọ́n ti fi ajílẹ̀ sí.
The market come be like that. I get problem.
Get problem. Okay.
So, if you say I bring out the next day, you see like fresh meat.
Oh.
Association wa bi na Yam association wa on chairman tomato association wa on gbogbo nǹkan tó ń tà nínú 𝗦𝗳𝗲 gbogbo ọ̀nà ní àwọn olórí ní sọ̀rí so at least ṣé orúkọ ní ẹ̀bá bá orúkọ bẹ́ẹ̀ pàdé náà tí ẹ̀bá wá sọ́jà tó bá wá lè complain fún àwọn tó jẹ́ olórí yẹn at least they know what to do about it wọ́n ní nǹkan tó lè ṣe.
For me, if you ask me, what makes me feel that think that the food is safe? When looking at the environment is dirty. Everywhere is unkept. So if we have to buy food based on the environment, that means nobody will buy anything. What we normally used to do is, no matter what we buy, we just make sure that we wash it properly. Like this one is yam now. As you can see, that's what I want to buy. So I won't use because of the environment is dirty. I will not buy the yam. What I need to do by myself is for me to buy the yam, then take it home, make sure that I wash it. It's a joint effort. That one you can't leave it for government. Government cannot be the one to come and wash what you want to use.
They select them. They select the market. Come out the rotten one, black one, we carry and get like this. And so we get that market. If you buy this market, tomorrow you some can happen, you come back.
If you know select for today, tomorrow you fit select them. See if you see bad one, you come out them. You just rent that bad one. That's all we do.
Yeah, the confidence of a team there is through God. Everything I'm buying, I just pray over it. Either the market is safe or not safe, I put my trust in God. I pray over it before we eat. Okay. I don't know anybody to report to. I can only put it on social media that I bought so thing and so things happen. So that's just the only thing I can. I'm not aware of that.
Most people trust that the food in front of them is safe. Few know what safe actually means, who is responsible for it, or what to do when it isn't. Globally, an estimated 866 million people fall ill from unsafe food every year. Not because they were negligent, but because a costly gap exists between what people know and what they need to know to protect themselves. Every one of those people behind the statistics had a right to safe food, but most of them just didn't know it. And as a consumer, you can only demand what you know you are entitled to. You are entitled to safe food. Know it, ask for it, demand it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm hoping we saw the video, and the truth of the matter is that a lot of people, for them, the issue is information, getting the right information. And then for other people also not knowing, even when you find yourself in certain situations with unsafe food, what do you do? Who do you report to? But these are some of the conversations we'll be having. And that is why we want to take a quick poll, which I believe will help us see what the figures are saying. Kindly take the poll. Just click, and you should be done. If you can see the poll, please go ahead and take it very quickly. Thank you. Kindly let me know if you can hear me and if you can also see the poll. An emoji will be very helpful. Can you see the poll, please? Can you hear me okay? Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. You can find the link in the chat box. The figures are rising. Kindly take the poll. The link is in the chat box. Just quickly click on it and you can take the poll. You can use the QR code also to get into the Mentimeter platform. This quite
Thank you for participating. We still have one more question.
Apologies, please. It's raining heavily here. I believe it's the rain is affecting the internet. But it looks stable now. Thank you so much for your patience. Yeah, I was talking about the results, some of which show that a number of people will not bother to confront the sellers, while a good number of people identify what the issues are. But we will proceed so that we do not spend time on the poll. We can come back to it later. Let's dive in quickly into the conversation of today. I'm excited. I don't know what the rain is doing, but I'm excited. So we move on. To start us off, we will introduce our first speaker, Dr. 𝗙𝗿cie𝗺 a seasoned food scientist with over 30 years of experience in food safety, food systems, and nutrition. Dr. 𝗙𝗿cie will be speaking on safe foods everywhere, risks and practical steps for safer food at home and in markets. His session comes at a critical time as we continue to confront the real burdens of unsafe food every day. I talked about what the statistics show about the amount of people that fall ill every year and some of which eventually die from unsafe food. But it's amazing to now look forward to some of the things that Dr. 𝗙𝗿cie will be talking about, because he has the depth of experience and he's able to guide us through some of the steps that we can take in terms of food handling and preservation, and more importantly, the simple evidence-based steps in the households, within the markets, and in our communities. Over to you now, Dr. 𝗙𝗿cie.
Thank you very much. And safe food everywhere, risk practical steps for safer food at home and in markets. I want us to pay close attention. While we're talking about markets, traditional food markets are epicenters for nutrition, food safety, and commerce, which we all know. And on a daily basis, many of us, including those of us listening now, we buy our fresh fruits, source of vegetables, fruits, dairy products, baked goods, spices from the market. And that is because it's the foundation for nutrition and health. So there is an intersection between supply and demand in the traditional markets, and that is why it's very important between vendors and the consumers. For vendors, it's livelihood, part community building, and also a food safety issue that needs to be attended to. And of course, the food we buy is a source of nutrition and food security. But there's a small problem. Most of the government regulations had not previously included the informal market in the regulations on food safety. But the current one, the National Food Safety and Quality Bill 2023 does have a section for informal food market, which we'll talk about later. These are some pictures taken from a traditional market in one of the cities in Nigeria. And you can see the issue of poor handling, sanitation issue, and then, of course, storage practices. And this is also what happens at home: poor handling, sanitation, and storage. And it's critical that at this point in time, as we begin to see the impact of poor handling and the maintenance of unsafe food, we need to pay very close attention to practical steps that can help us. So we have this global and Nigerian foodborne disease burden estimates. This from the World Health Organization 2026 estimates. Globally, 866 million, and in that aspect, we have 40 million in Nigeria. Diarrhea diseases arising from unsafe food with foodborne pathogens. Then globally, 1.52 million people die every year because of consuming unsafe food. And some of these deaths, especially in Africa, in particular Nigeria, they are blamed on witches and wizards and so forth and so on. whereas it's as a result of just poor food handling practices. In Nigeria, also, children under 5 bear the burden, 85%. 81% of the foodborne disease is borne by children. While in Nigeria, we have 4.26 million healthy years of life lost annually due to unsafe food. And the chemical contaminants, which are the chemical hazard, lead and arsenic, in fact, they are resulting in greater than 120 life years lost annually in Nigeria. And that's a big issue. When it comes to chemicals, because our mind usually is focused on microorganisms, pathogens that cause foodborne illnesses, but the World Health Organization has looked at 9 foodborne chemicals that they're actually also contributing to foodborne illnesses, and that they also are affecting the health of consumers through cardiovascular diseases. If you look at inorganic arsenic, it's a cause of chemical disease and over 2 million illnesses. If you look at lead, which is a critical heavy metal, it contributes to several illnesses. And this is why it's important that exposure to these chemicals are regulated and controlled. Now, achieving safer food at home and in the markets require specific actions. The first one is positive behavior change. And this is for both those actors in the market and at home. Knowledge of food safety is important. Attitude is important. Practices are important. Why is knowledge important? If you don't know, you are not able to take action. Attitude is how do you respond to what you have learned. Let's give a typical example. During the COVID-19 era, hand washing became very critical for everybody. After the COVID-19, people have changed attitude. At the moment, for food safety, hand washing is critical, very critical step that you want to take and wash hands properly to be able to have safe food. It's a critical element. It's a critical one. Just a minute. So we also need the enabling environment. Are the markets where food are sold, are they properly constructed? Infrastructure there? Do we have safe potable water available for market actors to use? Where there's no water, what do we expect? The environment will be dirty, sanitation will be poor, and that's one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria. If you go to several markets, you see the condition, you begin to wonder, is this where we buy our food? We also need best practices and appropriate technologies. We have food that require cold storage. They must be stored under cold storage and marketed under cold storage in the market and kept in the cold storage at home. We cannot fault products going bad if we don't keep them properly. So the technologies are available, and we need to apply them even at home. Using our refrigerators, we need to be able to know when to put food products in the refrigerator. It should not be hot. We should not put hot food in the refrigerator. We're actually encouraging unsafe food. Just a minute, or it's a bit hanging. Okay. Just a minute. Away. Do you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's hanging. I don't know why. Okay, great. Okay, so yeah. So what are the practical steps to safer food in the markets? Every vendor, whether market vendor or street food vendor, must recognize the dangers of poor food handling practices on the head of prospective consumers. If they don't have that at the back of their mind, they will do whatever they like. Every food vendor in the market must make deliberate choices to buy raw materials or ingredients from reputable and trusted sources, farmers, aggregators, and wholesalers. Now, if you know farmers that use dirty water to spray on vegetables before you go and buy them, you must have to tell them they should use clean water. We must use appropriate preservation and storage methods. If you go to the market and you find, for example, you want to buy meat, and there is no fly around the meat that they did not cover, they did not put in an enclosure, then you should be afraid that that meat must have been treated with formaldehyde or any other preservative that will not allow flies to get near there. And so we must also, as food vendors in the market, stop using hazardous chemicals to preserve food commodities. Cereal grains and legumes like cowpea, maize, and sorghum, this can be preserved using hermetic bags. We have the PICS bag, we also have the zero fly bags. For fish and meat, you always should be selling what is fresh, not the one that have stayed overnight that is not placed in the cold storage. We must ensure that the desire for profit, this is very important for market actors. They must ensure that their desire for profit maximization does not lead them into committing food fraud. For example, people that are selling palm oil using azo dye, people that are selling beans using sniper to preserve their beans. These are criminal issues that will impact on the health of consumers negatively. And then the market alone will obey government regulations on food safety, personal hygiene, and environmental sanitation guidelines for food preparation, handling, sale, and storage. They must not just be keeping their products anyhow. They should be stored above the ground. The food that people are eating, don't put them on the bare floor. They should be stored a bit above the ground so that when the breeze blows dust and everything, it's not just settling directly on them. These are part of the practical things that we must do in markets. Then the government actually also have a role. We cannot begin to blame everybody and then the government have its role to play. After the government have done its own, that's why the market actors and the consumers should also do their own. The government should promote public education on food safety and its public health impact. The government should ensure unsafe food practices, food fraud are recognized as food safety risks to public health and legislate on stiffer penalties and consequences for offenders. People just do whatever they like now. And that is because there's really no law with which to hold them accountable. The National Food Safety and Quality Bill 2023 is yet to be passed into law. You really cannot hold them. So the government needs to do that. And then we also must be able to take responsibility not to buy where we know the safety is compromised. We need to build capacity for risk assessment. The ministry, departments, and agencies need to have sufficient knowledge and training to be able to render the services they're employed for. We must integrate food safety and food supply chain activities in traditional food markets and street food vending in national food safety policy and legislation. I was part of the team that helped in a review, and this has been included now in the National Food Safety and Quality Bill 2023, which needs to be passed into law. It's still there, it has not been passed into law. We know that markets actually fall under the local government area councils. We must empower local government area councils through policy and legislation to manage food safety risk in the informal food sector, traditional markets, and street food vendors. For us that buy, for example, akara, and they use old newspapers, you don't know where those newspapers were kept. Rats that are urinated on them, you don't know where they were kept. Those who buy suya, the same thing. Old newspapers are used. You don't know what happened to those newspapers where they were kept. And we must take responsibility to ensure that the regulation enables this. There is need for registration of vendors, food vendors. They should be registered, whether at the market or as street food sellers, so that they can be tracked. Currently, you cannot track them. Then there's an important responsibility for the market management or market authorities to be supported to provide safe water supply through boreholes and public water projects. This is critical. Otherwise, without good water, there will be no sanitation. Either personal hygiene or environmental sanitation will not be feasible. Apologies, I don't know. There's the network, it rained here, so the network is a bit.
We're hearing you, sir.
Yes, we'll just give him a few minutes. I think he's having an internet challenge.
Yeah, I don't know, it rained here heavily.
You're back, we can hear you now.
Yeah, it rained here heavily.
That's the challenge, but you can proceed.
Yeah. For us, let me just say we have even the greater responsibility as consumers. One, for those of us that eat pounded yam, amala, eba, fufu, personal hygiene is key. Hand washing is key. What do people do nowadays, either at restaurants, at home? They have a bowl of water. Instead of washing their hands properly the way we are told to wash for 20 seconds, people just dip the dip of their fingertips. They just dip it in the water and then start eating. That's a huge risk. People that have gone to the toilets to ease themselves have not washed their hands with soap. And they go out and they buy roasted corn. The dirty hands are used to hold the corn. Or buy apple. Even apple are used to hold it and eat. You get contaminated. So personal hygiene is really very key. Personal hygiene, just like I said, for the market vendors, personal hygiene is key. You can't do without being cautious of personal hygiene. We need to use only safe, clean, and potable water for hand washing. When they say wash under running water, one of the things people used to complain about is that they don't have running water. But let me tell you, if you have a bottle of water or a container and you raise it up above the level and the water is going down into your sink or wherever you are washing, that is your running water as long as the water is safe. Make deliberate choice to buy food from reputable and trusted markets and vendors. That's the responsibility of the consumer, to make sure that they have safe food at home. Go to where you are sure of the safety of your product, of what you are buying, the market, the vendors. Then store cooked and raw food properly and separately. We must not combine cooked food and raw food together. And now inside the refrigerator, cooked food should be stored above raw food and not raw food on top above cooked food. It's really very important. That's really very important. If you put raw meat on top food that's already cooked, when it drips, it goes straight to that food, and you may not need it, and it might be a food that you are not going to recook or cook before you eat. There's a huge food safety risk. And food that need to be frozen, like fish and the rest, should be frozen at the right temperature, minimum of minus 18 degrees Celsius. Then the kitchen environment is safe. We must keep the kitchen environment and the utensils we use clean. We must use the appropriate PPE like aprons where required. I've observed that in homes, many people use the same cotton ball to cut cooked food and raw food for fish, for meat, and vegetable. Ideally, we should use different cutting boards for fresh fruits and vegetables, and for cooked food, and for fish and meat. Or if you have only one, you must ensure that it is actually properly washed after the first use. Don't wait for it to dry. Don't wait for the blood to dry on the boards before you use it for another one. It has to be washed. Then keep the waste bin far away from the food environment and dispose properly, because it's a source. Flies that come in have already touched there before they come inside the house. And then food that had not been eaten and is not covered, they will touch it, they will patch on them. So we must ensure that food that we are not eating immediately that is already cooked, we must cover them properly to make sure that they are not exposed to contamination. Because of the time, let me conclude. Since food safety is a collective and shared responsibility, it means that all actors in the supply chain, from the farm to the table, have responsibility. They must play their role well to prevent food contamination, which results in foodborne diseases. Market management or market authorities are critical when it comes to the marketplace if we want to ensure supply of safe food. If they have the buy-in, and the vendor associations, if they take ownership and responsibility, you will go to markets today and discover that things are changing. So the market management or market authority, the vendor associations are very important that we must advocate to for effective food safety best practices in the marketplace. And like I earlier said, National Assembly must urgently enact the National Food Safety and Quality Bill 2023, which actually extends regulation to the informal sector, including the street food vendors, as a critical measure for safeguarding public health. That particular bill, for your information, got to the table of our immediate past president among 10 bills that were sent for assent. It was number 3, I should think, on the list, but it was never signed into law. And that has set us back 1,000 years. And finally, consumers at home must take responsibility in ensuring that best food safety practices, including personal hygiene and sanitation, are adhered to always when handling or preparing food. This is a personal responsibility for you and for your entire family. Whoever is doing the cooking, buying the food stuff, whether the man or the woman or the young girl or the young boy, they should have this understanding that contaminated food does not respect age, does not respect height, it does not respect gender. Anyone that eats contaminated food gets the consequences. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. 𝗙𝗂𝗲. That was a lot of unpacking you did. And honestly, I can start from where you stopped. You said contaminated food does not respect gender. It doesn't respect height or age. Meaning that if you have diarrhea on the expressway, you have diarrhea. It doesn't matter who you are. So I'm really excited by some of the things you have brought up, and you have really provided practical steps, which I believe are quite helpful. Some of the things you mentioned, hand washing, cold storage, some of these things people believe they already know. But in practice, how many people are able to say, yes, these are the things I practice very seriously in my home? You talked about using cutting boards. So people may not know that there is a difference between certain foods and how they should be handled. But the question now is, for the vendors, for the people in the markets, how do they know these things? How do they consciously care for the consumers? How do they preserve the food they sell to people? But like some of the people we interviewed in that video noted, some of them, their point was they don't know what to do. Some of the markets are not clean, and they say because the markets are not clean, shouldn't they now go to the markets? But really, if that's what they have to be able to go to the markets. Now, the responsibility lies with the consumer to take those things, go home and make sure you clean them up as much as possible and make sure that they are good and they are safe for your family. But also some of the points you pointed out regarding what the government can do Also, like they noted in the video, the government will not do everything for you. The government will not take your vegetables and wash them. The government will not tell you to be careful where you buy things. But the government can help with policy, can help with education, can do what the government should do. And now we are excited to have government in the room in that sense. It's also good to hear some of the things that we should hear about the strategies that the government is taking and some of the ways they can advise that we move going forward. So we've looked at homes, we've looked at our markets, but like Dr. 𝗙𝗂𝗏 mentioned, individual actions need the backing of strong enforceable systems. So that now brings us to the second critical segment, which is turning policy into action to build stronger food systems. And to guide us through this landscape, we are privileged to welcome Dr. 𝗙𝗂𝗙 𝗕𝗂𝗏𝗲𝗄, a consultant public health physician and director of the Environmental and Occupational Health and Safety Unit at the Lagos State Ministry of Health. Dr. 𝗕𝗂𝗏𝗲𝗄 will be speaking on turning policy into action to build stronger food safety systems. So now her session will move from individual risks to the system meant to prevent them, and the gap that often exists between policy design and real-world enforcement. She brings strong experience in public health leadership and currently overseeing workplace safety standards, public health surveillance, and emergency response systems across Lagos State. So you can agree with me that she's in the best position to take this session. So she'll be examining the infrastructure gaps, enforcement realities, and collaborative pathways. She may not be able to have her video on. She's been battling with some of the internet challenges that we're currently facing. Also, I think the rain has contributed to that a lot, but I believe we'll be able to hear her voice loud and clear. And now, Dr. 𝗕𝗂𝗏𝗲𝗄, you have the floor. Please go ahead.
Talking briefly about turning policy into action to build stronger food safety systems. And I'll be looking at it, the Lagos State context. And next slide, please. To guide me, I'll be using this outline. We'll be looking at why are we looking at food safety? What's the current status? The food safety landscape in Lagos State. We'll look at policy to action strategies. We'll also look at turning policy into action. Then we look at the burden, that is the regulatory challenges that we face as governments, as we put it. And then we would also talk about what Lagos State is doing in the policy and regulatory framework. And then I would conclude. So first of all, why are we talking about food safety? Permit me to use some data that we have from Lagos State, where we had in 2024 and 2025, we had a total of that were suspected of having foodborne ailments, and unfortunately, we lost 19 of them. This is just bringing to fore the fact that food safety is important because we want to prevent foodborne illnesses, the health of the public. We want to reduce healthcare costs because when the public are not healthy, we will be talking about reducing economic growth. And also we would like to prevent food wastage and also maintain consumer confidence. You must agree with me that when a consumer is confident to consume anything, it will boost the body immunity of the nation. Next slide. Currently in Nigeria, we have a 1,000 deaths. Foodborne pathogens remain a major diarrheal diseases. The pathogens that bring about food that are from foodborne illness. And also we have, because we have a high population to these foodborne pathogens and therefore more exposed to disease entities. Next slide, please. Now in Lagos, commercial hub and one of Nigeria's largest urban
Dr. 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗵𝗲, we can't hear you anymore. We'll just give her a few seconds to jump back in. But in the meantime, please, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box, and the speakers will get to them as soon as it's time for the questions. Dr. 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗵𝗲, please check your microphone. I see you're muted. Yes, you're back. Okay, if you can please recap some of the things you said, because we lost you, at some point. Yes.
Sorry about that. Like I said, the network is the safety landscape in Lagos State. We know that in Lagos State, because of the rapid urbanization and the number of people that we have in the state, we also know that a lot of people now depend on street foods. We like a lot of eating out, the restaurants, the eateries. We have a lot of markets, supermarkets, catering, and hospitality services that attend. Therefore, we also have
Okay, we're still struggling to hear Dr. 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗄𝗵𝗲. I don't know if we're able to sort out this internet challenge at this point. All right, but please, you can keep the questions coming and we can take them as soon as we get to the Q&A session. We will just allow her a few more seconds, and if not, we can proceed to the next speaker.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. But it's been back and forth, on and off. But please
Okay.
proceed. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, just talk briefly about the risks that we have based on food safety. And we know that some studies in Lagos have shown that there's a need for continuous improvement in farms, food vendors, and even us. So what we also know is the fact that food safety is a shared responsibility. We know that capacity building is essential, and we also know that data and science public-private
Sorry, Dr. 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗻, we can't hear you again. We can no longer hear you.
And also, we must leverage on data for monitoring, reporting, and evidence-based solutions. Next slide, please. The slide is not changing. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back now. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Okay, maybe Dr. 𝗙𝗵𝗻𝗻, maybe we can proceed to the next speaker because your internet is not stable at all. Yeah, but if you're able to during the question and answer session, you can take specific questions during that time. But she has also pointed to some very key insights that I think will be very good for us to note. She has pointed out that there are a number of issues with regard. So her point is this is not just a government issue, it's also a matter of individuals, consumers being able to carefully now also protect themselves while the government is doing their bit, ensuring that policies are in place, but also encouraging the citizens themselves to please do what they can to be able to make sure that whatever they can do in terms of ensuring that their food is safe is also paid attention to. She also has some statistics about some of the things that the Lagos State government is doing and how they keep pushing for the sellers, the markets, the vendors are able to also take measures to ensure safe practices. But it would be good to hear her some more. Maybe when we get to the Q&A session, she'll be able to respond to some of the questions that will come up. But then we can move ahead to the final speaker for this webinar. And so what she's going to be talking about is something that is very important, yet it's often overlooked. She'll be talking about the safety of herbal consumables, how people need to be careful, because people believe, oh, I'm taking the right measures, I have to be able to take care of myself. I know what leaves to put together, I know what herbs to take, I know how to boil them so that they are able to cure certain things or prevent certain things. But the challenge with that is that a lot of times people don't even know what some of those leaves and some of those herbs contain. And they often now do more harm to themselves than good. But really, I'm not the professional in that space. She's right here and she can speak to that. And so to unpack this subject or this area of the conversation will be Mrs. 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗧 𝗙𝗂𝗏, who is a biochemist, naturopath, and founder of BioNaturals Limited, a growing Nigerian wellness brand focused on science-informed natural health solutions. She'll be speaking on science-based practices for safer herbal consumables. Her session will help us better understand the fast-growing but often overlooked area of consumer risk, the safety of herbal consumables. She brings a unique blend of scientific training and health expertise with a background in biochemistry, master's level training in herbal medicine from the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, and international certifications. So it's a pleasure to have Mrs. 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗧 on the call. Please join me in welcoming her to unpack that session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much, lovely. And good afternoon, everyone. Just permit me to share my slides so we can be right on point. Okay, give me a minute to get this right. I hope you can see my screen. You can see my slide, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Thank you so much once again. So as she has introduced, my name is 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗧 𝗙𝗂𝗏, and I'm here to talk about the science-based practice for safer herbal consumables. Now, first of all, I want to say thank you to CADEF Foundation, because these are conversations that are important and relevant for moments like this, for periods like this, where, of course, the use of herbs are now growing. I mean, people are turning to natural. And so this is a time where but at the same time, a lot of things are going on that is making what is supposed to be good to now to start being bad. But programs like this help us open our eyes to the truth and the right knowledge that we should have. So once again, thank you, CADEF, for having this kind of sessions. And happy Food Day to everyone. And so I'll go ahead right now.
My apologies, Dr. 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗧. Please, thank you so much for that intro, but are you able to put your presentation on the slideshow mode, on the presentation mode, so it's clearer? But if not, you can proceed so I don't distract you.
Sorry, are you referring to me?
Yes, please. I'm asking, are you able to put it in the presentation mode, slideshow?
Oh, okay.
If not,
sorry.
okay.
Let me see. Sorry about that. Okay. It's better now?
Absolutely. Thank you. Please proceed.
That just skipped my mind. Okay, so as I was saying, so if I should ask everyone on this platform right now, I mean, in the past 1 week, or even in 2 days or 3 days, has anybody used anything related to herbs? And some people will say no, some people will say yes, but I'm sure that if not 98, let me not say 99.9%, I've actually used herbs in fact daily. So for some, they'll say, oh, we don't use herbs. Some people believe that, no herbs, I'm not sure I can use it. But even the food that you eat, even those bitter leaf juice that you squeeze out from your vein and give it, or even the teas, the black tea. Some people say they don't use herbs, but they drink black tea every day. Or some people drink zobo, you know. A lot of these things they are not just drinks. They are actually herbs. And 1 million of Nigerian consumers consume herbal products every day. So, like I said, zobo, which has become a drink in Nigeria, we find it in our children's school, adults, everyone. We even use it to entertain our home as a drink. But, well, I don't know. I know some people know, but here today I'm telling you that it's a herbal medicine. And then same thing with your bitter leaf. We actually have herbal healing soups, which some of these soups that you make are actually for healing. So you can look at it as medicine, herbal medicine. And of course, some other people use WhatsApp, IG, that's Instagram, different social media platforms to get information about herbs used to improve their health, or they just get information that, oh, you want to stay younger forever, take this, take this, take this, or you are having high blood pressure, this is becoming really common. And so these are ways that people are consuming herbs these days, which could be good if done properly. So, but now let's talk about the burden of this. Herbal medicine actually is something that is good, but everything that is good comes with caution, so what is most important is the knowledge. So let's talk first of all about the burdens that we're experiencing in that space right now when it's related to food. So we're taking out the fact that this is herbal medicine is food, because it's most times you take it with, it's just food, forget about it, because it's just that your food that you believe is food is the way you process it is what is different, and the way that some of us perceive that herbal medicine is processed is different. But let's know that as we're talking about food today, herbal medicine is considered food. In fact, in science these days, they said, when they were teaching us nutrition, it was mentioned that we have carbohydrates, protein, fat, and oil. We have come to agree at some point in science that we should have added phytonutrients as part of your nutrients. So anyway, let me go ahead with the list. So unregulated production. So we have products, herbal products. So some people maybe you don't even go ahead and try to treat yourself, but some people buy herbal products in the store. For example, just yesterday, my brother called me. Of course, he knows that this is my work. So somebody in his office, I think she's a cleaner, she's elderly. He took a picture of a herbal product and sent it to me. She said the pharmacist where she went to gave her that product. So he took the picture. He said she wasn't feeling fine. She had some complaint, body pain, blah, blah, blah. And then she went to the pharmacy and they gave her. But she used it and she couldn't sleep. And when I read the ingredient list and all of that, plus what she was talking about, I knew that there was no way that what was doing her what was offered to her would, especially an elderly person, for example, elderly person complain about certain things. You don't just, so most times, and even the herbal medicine, from the ingredient list, from even the indication, there are certain things that you just know that, okay, this is maybe not properly, because if I have done the good work to go into details in my production, my labeling will be very 100. I'll put that same good work. So sometimes most of these products we have in the market are unregulated, because of course, so if we were regulated, I'm sure our body like NAFDAC would have not accepted that kind of product. So we have, and the kind of things we consider when we say unregulated is the quality control. So how these products are produced, what are the standards that they use? Do they check for microbial load? Do they check for adulterants like metals? A lot of things are not right from the ground, right from the farm. These products, these standards have to be taken care of from the product, but most of the times we don't have this done. Now, we also have contamination risk, which I've talked about. We have microbial contamination, adulteration. Funny enough, some people, because we have people who just buy, these are everyday users now, who just go and hear that, okay, soursop, for example, is good for, everybody now goes, everywhere I go, somebody's asking, do you have soursop? And then I'm asking them, what do you want to use this for? But the truth is that when the demand for these things go up, the tendency for manufacturers or those that are selling them to adulterate, because those plants, when the demand is up, those things also become scarce. Because everybody's rushing it. So the tendency for somebody who wants to make money, and this is not to every practitioner, but the tendency for somebody who wants to make money will go for that, say, adulterate, mix it with other things. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not intentional. So these are risks that we face in these times, and these are things that we have to be aware of. So undisclosed additives. So when you are buying a herbal product, or even, and when we say herbal product, I'm talking about even the ones you use on your skin, or even the ones you take in. Sometimes they don't disclose all the ingredients in it. And we have cases of allergies. So I believe that all ingredients have to be, most of producers, manufacturers in Nigeria don't put everything because they don't want somebody to copy it and go and reproduce. But I think it's also very important that we begin to consider the consumers, because whether you like it or not, there are cases of allergies, there are cases of drug interactions, which also needs to be considered. So, and that's the herb-drug interaction. So then there's another very important thing, which is the consumer awareness gap. So consumers, for example, they are setting, you need to be aware of the herbs. For those who pick herbs and use anyhow, even these common zobo, bitter leaf, these common things, you need to be aware of what they really are, what they contain, what, you know, what I call it is know your plants. So don't just use it, know your plant. Like hibiscus, for example, now, a lot of people know that it's used for high blood pressure. But if you know it's used for people with people with high blood pressure, it can help bring down and then somebody is taking it every day, morning, afternoon, night as a drink. What are you doing to your blood pressure? Even for those with normal blood pressure. So it might not reduce your blood pressure, but if you understand that this is medicine, you will take with caution. So whether it's natural or not, the truth is that most times these are medicines, they are drugs, they are we call it herbal medicine. It's still medicine. So we need to be aware of that and know that there's something called dosage. There's also something called timing, the time you take it, what you take it with. Now we have things like tannins, for example. Your tannin, your black tea, and a lot of other herbal products are rich in tannins. And tannins are, you know, like somebody takes tea, somebody's eating his breakfast, and this could even be a health conscious person, and I've taken his time to make sure that he has a balanced diet, make sure the protein, everything is there, and then just top it up with a tea, herbal tea, or even a black tea. And then do you know that your meal that you have planned and make sure that the nutrient, these tannins can actually block the absorption of some of these nutrients. For example, iron. Let's say somebody is having blood issues, anemia, and you are taking some blood food that would enrich in your blood, and then you are going ahead to drink black tea or some herbal tea, because tannin is in many other herbal teas. At the same time, you are taking your food. You are countering the effect of what you're trying to achieve. So the knowledge is actually very, very, very important. You know, so let me I will talk in details about some of these things. So of course, and some of these things that we hear, some of these formulations that we receive, either hand me down or we got online. Some of them are either half truths, you know, some are hand-me-down formulas. I will talk in details about this here, me having more time. So, you know, and these things are what we call, when you have half-truths. For example, somebody says, go and take a particular herb for high blood pressure, and that it will bring down your blood pressure. True, you can take that herb, actually, and it will bring down your blood pressure. But the things that are causing the blood, there are other factors that are supposed to be considered that you need to. And so if it's just doing that would be you dealing with, like, just telling your blood pressure go down, but the other problems that are causing the blood pressure to go down, you are not dealing with it. So, I don't want to go very scientifically. So at the end of the day, when that blood pressure will go back up, and these are the problems that people face, and then they come back and tell you that herbs are bad. The truth is that they have only taken a half information or not a complete information about treating their health, and it has gone ahead to cause more problems. So we need to be aware of some of these things before we start taking action. So just to emphasize more on what I've said, hibiscus, for example, now we have what we call herb-drug interaction. If you are drinking herbal tea and zobo tea every day, and you are somebody on high blood pressure medication, and you are still drinking the tea and you're drinking them together, at the end of the day, you can end up bringing your blood pressure so low to the point of becoming harmful to your health. So that's one of the reasons why you need to have this knowledge before you start using, or so you need to know how, not to say that you don't need to use the zobo, but how to use it, when to use it, and the dose to use it has to be considered. These are some of the things that you have to consider. And zobo is just one of the many other herbs. I'm just using it as an example that you have to consider. So once it's herb, consider, first of all, find out, ask questions like, if there are any drug interactions, and just try to understand your herbs. I'll talk later about what you should do. So we also have the tannin, which is what I've talked about, the teas, your black tea, and a lot of other herbs that are binding with your nutrients. Okay, that are binding with your nutrients. So I need to just move. And then also, there's some herbs that should be taken long time and some short time. So because of time, I need to move on. And then all these online formulas is half-truth and can be harmful. Some hand-me-down practitioner product needs to be validated. And then when they even have, the conditions are different. The human being, so Somebody with chronic kidney disease cannot handle certain hand-me-down formula to treat certain things. So you need to have knowledge, full knowledge about some of these herbs before you start using it. So, of course, like I said, so what are the solutions to these things I have said? Know your herbs, validate preparation. When you know your herbs, know the active compounds, know the interactions, you know, if you have drug interaction or food interaction, know the contraindication, know the caution around your herbs. Very important. Before you use, whether you're a practitioner or you're as long as you want to use herbs, you must know all of these things. Understand the method of preparation. To the way you prepare it determines whether it works for you, whether you're producing a poison, whether you are just neutralizing whatever it is. All of these factors are involved in herbs before you start, so you must know it. Then for the vendors, for those that are producing herbal medicine, try to increase in knowledge, try to scientifically, a little bit of, because we have organizations that are taking care of some of this, because a lot of these are practitioners are people that they were handed over to by their grandfathers, blah, blah, blah. But some of those things we need to learn how to validate. And then we also need to learn how to innovate some of these things. Like I've had to take trainings from elderly practitioners that are practicing our grandfather's method, and they tell you to cook this, cook that, cook that. And sometimes maybe my client is somebody in the US I want to send something to. All they knew was cook. How do I take something that I just decocted in water form and send it to the US? So we need to be innovative. For example, because of time, like there are these probiotics that we have in Nigeria that, like your ogiri, your iru, these are very healthy herbal foods. Let me use the word herbal food that can actually do a lot of healing in your body. But they're not pleasant. They're not things that people want to just grab and put in their mouth. So as a practitioner, somehow, or even if you're, there are ways, our innovation is on how to make it presentable for people. So let me just round up because of time and the rain. So what are the call to actions? What are you supposed to do for this safe food everywhere for consumers? Stop treating natural as safety certificates. So the fact that something is natural doesn't mean that it is safe. So for it to be safe, dosage, and ask for the dose, ask for the frequency, the usage, ask for interactions. Your kitchen is full of bioactive compounds that deserves your respect. You need to know about them before you start pumping them into your body. And for practitioners and vendors, raise your standard above the formula, raise your standard, do quality things. We have these different kind of traditional medicines all over the world now. Some of them have already gone far beyond we Africans. So, but it's time for us to begin to raise standard, get more knowledge, pursue registrations, NAFDAC registrations, and other registrations that are possible. Know your herbs and not just know what they do. Yes, understand them, understand why they work, and how to use them, the appropriate method. Just increase your knowledge on it. And for the policy makers and advocates, let's regulate, but build capacity. Sam, it's not just giving us standards to go and meet them. And this is the reason why a lot of producers or don't go to NAFDAC, because standards are high. Do this, do that, and some of these people cannot meet it. So help fund some of these testings, fund trainings, fund research. Like Lagos State is doing a good job. Actually, I can tell that. You cannot prosecute you can't prosecute your way to save herbal market, actually. So with that, I would like to say thank you for your time, and I will be in the session waiting for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗧. That was a lot of insights you have provided, and I'm thankful for them. I know that the questions are already coming in. I can see some of them. But please, if you have some more questions, you can bring them in, and we can begin to take the questions. But I really love some of the things you highlighted. Sometimes when people take, and I'm glad you talked about hibiscus and some of the soursop leaves and all of those, that people feel, oh, these things are healthy. Then you go ahead to take them without even knowing that they actually should have a dosage in that sense. And you said sometimes people go ahead and prepare some of them without knowing they are preparing poison. That's quite heartbreaking for some people, but this is truth. These are some of the things that we should pay attention to. And when you receive things from your grandfathers, and you just call yourself a doctor because you have received certain, I would say, instructions or teachings as to how to put some of these things together. And people are hailing you, doctor, doctor. Meanwhile, you could be poisoning people if you do not have the right information or direction, really. But the people, everybody seem to have, whether they are dropping the questions here or not, but I know that people are beginning to think about some of the things that have been highlighted in this room. And I'll just go straight into some of the questions. I will just start from the first one from Mr. Patrick. He's asking what measures can be taken to build self-efficacy of the community to identify harmful preservation linked to pesticides, mostly such as aluminum phosphide. And this is to you, Dr. 𝗙𝗃𝗄𝗏. So they're asking what measures can be taken to build the self-efficacy of the community to identify harmful preservation linked to pesticides, formalin, and so forth, for action to be taken on protecting our communities. Dr. 𝗙𝗃𝗏, are you able to respond to that, please? You're muted.
No, okay. No, you didn't allow me to be unmuted. So, okay, thank you very much. Like I said.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, like I said, the first responsibility is yours. You have the first responsibility. If you see something, say something. What you see is important. And there are 3 levels of responsibility. You have the federal government, the state government, and the local government. And then the 4th government is you. You are the 4th government. And what we do is continuous awareness creation, educating farmers, and then the market actors. There's in Lagos State, the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, they have what is street food vendors, food safety that is focusing on street foods. They go to market and educate them. So education is important. Awareness creation is important. Letting people know why they should not use it. And one of the bigger problems we have is that most of the time we tell people not to use something. And we don't tell them why they should not use it, and we don't tell them what they should use as an alternative. That was why in my presentation, for example, for people that are using pesticides because they want to kill insects, you can do without pesticide after harvest by using hermetic bags. We have the PICS bags, which is Podio Improved Crop Storage bags. We have the zero fly bags. They are available in Nigeria. The zero fly bag was developed by Nigerian Stockholder Research Institute in collaboration with BACO. And they are available for farmers to use. They can take 50 kg, 100 kg grains. You can store them there in the market. And for 6 months, you don't have weevils infestation. So there's no need to use that. Then there's need for cold storage in the market. For example, in 𝗦𝗳𝗲, I know of 2 cold storage, solar-powered cold storage facilities that you can take fresh crops to, fresh tomato and the rest, pepper and co. to. You put 5 baskets there. You pick 1 basket at a time to go and sell, instead of just putting them outside. And when you didn't sell them, you just take them and keep them somewhere else. So information is important. Legislation is important. Personal carefulness and action is important. If you know this person is doing it, why don't you educate the person? You have known now the impact of using pesticides and not allowing them to wear out before they are used. For example, there are some commodities people spread pesticides. There is the half-life of that pesticide. The half-life. They will tell you, if you apply this, don't harvest or don't use after 2 weeks. But because of hunger, because of greed, after harvesting, they don't allow the pesticide to wear out. And then they just carry that and take it to the market. And that's one of the biggest problems we have. So personal action, collaborative action, community action, market authority, awareness creation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, because we're running behind time. I'll just take the next question that I can now build on some of the things you said. Somebody is asking about refrigeration. So he's asking, how do you refrigerate? How do you preserve without electricity? So if you can just respond to that in a few minutes. Dr. 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗲, can you hear me? You're muted.
Once you are speaking, I'm muted, so except you unmute me. I've already responded to that. I already responded to that question before. So, but if there's no power supply, you buy what you can use. But there are solar power refrigerators now there are solar power refrigerators. You can use solar panels, small inverters to run your refrigerator. As I'm talking, I have a solar powered refrigerator because the regular power supply is not there. So, but if you don't have such facility, you can also use very local technology. For instance, make sure that it's in a cool place. If you don't have power supply, before you go to the market, know that your power supply is not stable. Don't buy huge quantities of perishable items. That's the best content. Don't buy huge quantities of perishable items. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗲. The next one will be to you, Mr. Gunsawo. Somebody wants to know how a patient can identify about drugs that could be harmful to their health. How do you identify them? Mr. Gunsawo, can you hear me? Okay, you're muted. Guys, please unmute her.
Okay. So one of the ways, can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
A good way to actually know your products. Ordinarily, I would say, first of all, find registered products that are NAFDAC certified and all of that. But it depends on the angle at which you're looking at, because now even NAFDAC will tell you that some of the claims that this herb is, this product is claiming, they are not saying that they are, there are certainly some disclaimers and NAFDAC. So, but what I always recommend is, first of all, learn to read the labels. You must learn to read the labels. Identify what is inside there. Do your research about some of those things, because the reason why some herbs are dangerous it has to do with the individual. For example, you have things that children should not take or pregnant women should not. That's one of the reasons. Or somebody with specific conditions should not take. Or if you're using a part. So you need to have all of this information about the ingredients in the list. That's one. So other parts, what I always say is, if you're taking a herbal product from somebody you know that is producing, which is what I try to do most times, you know this is the person, we are still in that stage in Nigeria. You can do that. Ask the person certain questions. Be sure, let the person explain these things to you. That's one of the easiest and best ways. So even from what the person says, check it out, because we all have come to an age where we can actually check information and all of that. Check it out. Let the person defend some of those claims and explain things to you. And then, of course, you have to look at love in packaging. That even the way the person label, you just know that whether this is right or not. We've actually gotten to that point where you need to start considering all of that. So, there are many ways, but these are the few things I can say right now.
Thank you so much. And just on top of that, somebody's asking, why do people even use herbal products?
Why do what?
Why do people use herbal products?
Why do people use? Oh, wow. Like I said, herbal products. The food that you eat is herbal products. So why do you eat? Now, people use, but I think I understand what he's trying to say. For me, as a natural health person, I use herbs basically to supply nutrients that my body needs. It's as simple as that. Now, we have some other people who use herbs to treat health conditions. There are some conditions that also could be prevented. You know, your normal medicines treat specific disease audits. But when you begin to use herbs to nourish, because herbs have what we call anti-inflammatory, so you can just use them with understanding to even prevent diseases. So you can use for prevention of diseases, you can use for management of diseases, but all of these things have to be done with the right knowledge. With the right knowledge. That's what you must take note of. And I think with that, I have answered that question. And being a little bit cautious so that people don't just take information and jump.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Dr. 𝗙𝗂𝗲, somebody's asking about GMO. Are they safe for consumption, and how can one identify them and avoid them if possible? Somebody else is asking about preservation of food. Is it safe to eat food? She says that she was told that it is not safe to eat food kept in the fridge for over 3 days. What is your response to these questions, please?
I've responded to the last question on the chat. I've responded there. I think basically I read it, that safety of food kept in the fridge for 3 days is a function of, one, do you have regular power supply powering the refrigerator? What type of food? Is it covered? Is it packaged? That is what determines whether it's safe. If, for example, you open a tin milk and then you couldn't finish it, you put it in the fridge, I can tell you, if you have regular power supply, it will be safe after 3 days once you have regular power supply. The real underlying factor is if the refrigerator is on. If you have regular power supply, it can stay for 5 days. You don't have any problem. Then for GMO it's controversial. It's a government responsibility. You will there is a coding that if you have some fruits in particular, there's a coding for there's a coding that can be used to check it. I can't remember the exact code now. If you see that particular number in the code that is attached to Apple or to some list, you might know. But in terms of safety, at the moment, the general consensus is when properly used, genetically modified organisms are beneficial, but there are safety risks that need to be actually taken care of through the regulatory agencies. So the presence and availability of GMO is a function of the regulatory agencies of the country. If they approve it, then that means that they can be used. So that's a government responsibility. Identifying them is not as easy because they are used in food products. You can't isolate the ingredient from the product. For example, take tomato for example. So it's a function of the government regulation on that. If the government say today, after rigorous trials, after testing that this particular GMO is safe for planting and consumption, we are good to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. 𝗙𝗂𝗲. It's been an exceptional and action-oriented conversation, an afternoon, if you ask me. Yeah. I'm sure people on the call are thankful for some of the information that they have received, and I'm particularly thankful for some of the insights that the speakers have unpacked today. A massive thank you to you, our speakers. Dr. 𝗙𝗂𝗲, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of those information and insight you provided. Dr. 𝗙𝗂𝗵𝗂, I don't know if you're still here, but thank you so much for making the time and also some of the things you highlighted regarding what the government is doing. And thank you so much, Mrs. Ogunsanwo. Thank you. I'm sure we are working out here now knowing that even the food we eat could actually be medicine. So we have to be more careful in terms of usage and also prescription. Thank you so much for your brilliant, urgent, and practical contributions. Thank you. Now we are coming to...
There's a last question there, which I think is interesting. How best can fresh tomatoes for commercial sales be preserved so we have less spoiled? I told you in the market, for example, if there are cold rooms, you can keep them there, 10 baskets and take them one by one. The other thing is that instead of using baskets, use reusable plastic crates that enable better aeration and harvest at close to maturity point, not after ripening, so that you don't have it too soft already from the farm. So if you're harvesting from the farm and you are taking to the market, there is a particular green state, close to the green state before ripening. There is a stage that ripening state that you must harvest it. Don't wait for it to be fully ripened in the farm before you take it to the market. You should also choose the right varieties. There are varieties that you can put on the table at ambient temperature without refrigeration that can stay for 1 week. Depends on the variety as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for highlighting. I missed that. But also, some of the people we talked to in the market, one of the things they highlighted as well, because now they bring in a lot of those products produced from the north in terms of tomatoes and peppers and all that. But the insight they shared was basically some of the things you highlighted, but also that they take the time to sort them out so that the ones that are already bad from packaging do not affect the ones that are still in good condition. So those are some of the things that can be done. I mean, people now dehydrate to preserve. I don't know how that works, but I know those are also possibilities. But thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your time. At CADEF, we believe informed decisions start with access to the right tools, networks, and, of course, information, which is why we keep building and engaging with the people that matter most. And those people that matter most are you, the dear consumers. We would love to maintain contact. We would love to maintain connection with you. Please connect with us on our social media platforms so that we can keep engaging. You can find us on LinkedIn, Consumer.
We lost you. Maybe it's my system.
Informed, stay safe, and thank you for being part of this movement. Wish you all the best. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.